Hey, look at you.
All right. I think we are live. Cool. Hi,
Oh, there we are.
everybody. Let us know if you can see us because we're getting some weird feedback from YouTube right now. Um, I'm only seeing.
I can log in and see if I can see us.
Yeah, nobody's responding either, so I have a feeling that they cannot. Oh, I think we're live. All right. this. Hi, everybody. We are just trying to get all of the little kinks worked out, but I think we're good to go right now. Welcome, one and all, travelers, grounded travelers near and far. Hi, Bob and Terry. That's great. So they're saying hello from Ivins, Utah. One of their goals in quarantine is to recreate their Camino de Santiago, which is a 5-week hike they did across northern Spain, where they hiked 490 miles. Started March 1st and have logged 148 miles so far. Holy cow, just from your hometown and 30% complete. That's terrific. Bravo. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's really cool. Are you guys doing that outside? Or are you doing that on like your home gym? Like, how are you guys kind of doing that? Because that's pretty interesting. I know you guys have a lot of
And while you guys
great
respond,
walking paths
we'll
nearby.
just quickly introduce
Yeah.
ourselves. So I'm Eliz. This is Derek, and Eliz is short for Elizabeth. And we are people who travel very frequently. So we are, of course, grounded just like everybody else right now, and wanted to create these live streams in order to create community and connect with people all over the world. And continue to connect with people all over the world while we all are in our homes. So we're excited to be here tonight. I have my tea in my Scottish Highland Coo mug here.
A hairy coo.
A heavy coo.
Hairy
And
cow.
Derek's drinking a beer because it's 7 p.m. Hope everybody's
Ting ting.
doing well. Oh,
Ting ting.
I guess cheers. All right, so we can check back in with Bob and Terry now. So they're using the treadmills to do this. That's really cool.
Yeah, that's a cool like gamification of the exercise routine, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
The Camino de Santiago, of course, is something that I've been, extremely interested in ever since high school. One of my teachers in high school, history teacher, did the Camino. He had the Compostello or whatever it is, the certificate on the wall, kind of mounted. It was pretty cool. It's something that I've always told Eliz I want to do one of these days, and Bob and Terry, you guys have done that. That's pretty neat. Something to look forward to.
Yeah. And so they were saying until it gets a bit warmer, not many people out in Ivins, Utah.
So it's easy to social
So it's
distance.
pretty easy to social distance
Yeah.
right now. That makes sense. So we were going to say a few quick updates since we last did one of these 6 days ago, last Friday, because a lot's changed in the world in 6 days. Really, we are just kind of focusing in on the stuff that's changed since yesterday, because
A lot's changed since yesterday.
a lot's changed, at least in our world, since yesterday, and I'm sure for all you guys too. So, first and foremost, we got a notification to all of our phones here in Chicago today, and this is why I was thinking about the transition from what Bob and Terry were saying, that all of the hiking trails and parks and beaches and everything like that in Chicago are now closed until further notice. I guess people weren't social distancing enough.
Well, it was like 55 degrees outside yesterday, and 55 degrees in
It's like
Chicago
shorts weather.
is summertime basically. So everybody got very excited, and I guess the government said no more of that. So
Yeah, we were actually out just outside really briefly yesterday and noticed that there were a lot of other fellow Chicagoans out on the sidewalks as well. So I can imagine the bike paths and the hiking trails and the beaches were pretty crowded too. Not that anyone was sunbathing, I would imagine, but yeah, the outdoor activities can definitely help people who have pent-up energy release it.
Yep. So that happened. The U.S. became the #1 country for coronavirus cases. We've now outstripped China for that. Obviously, there's a lot of news out there for not just New York, but New Orleans, I think, is the fastest growing location for corona cases currently. A lot of people think that might have to do with Mardi Gras that happened. And so, our hearts are out for New Orleans and the state of Louisiana as they grapple with all of that. But yeah, so it's getting real out there. I think that some people are saying maybe by Easter things can start back up again, but I think there's a lot of differing opinions on what that's going to look like and if that's the right timing. Big stimulus bill got passed, so that was huge, $2 trillion, the largest in history. The markets reacted fairly positively to that. The first back-to-back gains on the Dow and the S&P, I think, since all this stuff started. So that's pretty exciting. Tax day is still pushed back to July, so cheers,
that happened
that's cool.
Right before our last live stream, and I know that we talked about that because Derek was super pumped.
But I'm still excited about it. So.
Well, actually, I think what we were able to confirm since then is that we were uncertain about at the live stream is that the federal tax got extended, but our state tax deadline, I think, also got extended, right?
That's how I choose to interpret it.
We'll see. We're still looking into it.
Yeah. But yeah, no. So things are changing. Every day. We continue to tell everybody that they should continue to heed the advice of their local, the World Health Organization or the CDC, or if you're in the UK, the NHS. I think the UK, go to the proper sites. Since
we talked, the UK is now on lockdown. I know that we had a visitor in the live chat from the UK last week. And then also one thing that was really cool, so let's talk about really cool thing that I saw today is that apparently at 8 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time tonight, everyone in the UK was encouraged to kind of lean out their windows and stuff and applaud because they have a nationalized healthcare system and they wanted to just support all of the people that work for the NHS. So I thought that was really cool to just see. There's great footage on social media that you can catch of people all over the country just cheering people on who work in the healthcare system there. So that was pretty cool. Also, I just want to add, if anybody else is on, we definitely want to make this an active live chat so we can interact with you guys. One of the things that we've found really cool in this other couple that does these travel live chats that we love to watch, called Walter's World, there's people that ask them still travel questions just in regards to planning and just questions about what they're doing with their time not traveling. And we're happy to answer those. We're happy to answer any questions that you throw our way. And also, I believe I asked, so let me see, I said, let us know where you are when you do join the live stream. Say hi in the live chat. And then also, if you have any other cool quarantine moments that you want to share. I know it's going to be pretty hard to top Bob and Terry's. That's awesome. But we don't have anything that tops that either. So we'll try to think of our own example of our quarantine achievements.
I'm looking up how to bake bread as a recipe.
We bought a rolling pin. That's our quarantine achievement. So we bought
yeast.
Yeah, we bought
have flour.
Yeast.
Lots of flour, lots of eggs, yeast. I think we have everything we need to bake some French bread, which is tomorrow's big project. I think she says she's going to try to make some homemade pasta. That sounds pretty cool. Which actually gets us to French bread and Italian pasta. one of the cool things that we're looking at in terms of like a content idea, and we'd love to hear people's opinions, thoughts, or ideas around this, is, we can't travel today, obviously, but we can travel in here, and one of the ways
you might have canceled travel plans too.
Yeah. So one of the ways that we can still kind of, scratch that itch when it comes to traveling and experiencing other cultures is to do it, from home. So we're looking at a number of different places where we can do kind of travel from home in terms of, virtually, whether it's, looking at, like a museum or something like that, doing like a virtual tour of a museum or a cultural thing in like Paris, and then cooking a French meal like duck confit or coq au vin or something along those lines. I think escargot would be delicious, and then baking some French
really
bread.
Hard to find snails in Chicago right now.
Nah, it'd be easy.
We couldn't even find duck at the store.
We tried to find duck. We couldn't find duck. But yeah, no. So what we're doing is we're trying to figure out some of these like experiences that we can do, kind of make a day of it where you get a cultural experience, you get a culinary experience, and then you also pick a movie that either is located in that geography or is heavily influenced by that geography, like Midnight in Paris or Amélie or some other French film.
Yeah. So. Or even, for example, Bob and Terry are talking about the Camino de Santiago earlier, which is in Spain. And if we do
The Way,
which is a Martin Sheen movie about a man who does that trail. And
do tapas,
do a
paella.
few tapas. Bacon wrapped dates is one of my favorite of those. Paella, of course. And also identify what museums in Madrid or in Bilbao or Barcelona we could tour virtually. So there's a lot that we're really thinking through and hope to release as videos coming up. And hopefully you guys are excited about that too. And we'd love your feedback, positive or negative on that. So,
yeah. We think it'd be kind of a fun idea. Maybe do a series of videos on that, and also then date night basically, which is kind of cool.
Okay, so I think we
Megan
have a few
Morris.
more people say hi.
Welcome.
Hi, Megan Morris. I know that we connected. Both you and Derek were talking to each other in the Walter's World live chat last night, and that's so sweet of you to join ours. I guess we are doing something quite similar, trying to keep those positive vibes alive. We travel a lot too, and thought it would be really cool to basically give our own opinions. So I think it's really awesome that you joined, and really cool that we're connected now on YouTube. So you're saying that you're from Lexington, Kentucky, which so Derek's parents actually live in the tri-state area over there, and I think Lexington's not too far from there, from Cincinnati. So we've been kind of in your neck of the woods a lot, but welcome.
Yeah. Ruth, welcome from the Chicago suburbs.
Yes.
Very, very fun. And then Bob and Terry, love the concept. Did the Prado put anything online? I'm not sure if the Prado has anything online.
I did find a place that has resources for a lot of different museums that you can tour online.
I know the Rijksmuseum is online. The Van Gogh Museum is online.
Basically, I'm going to go through that as my research for this. You guys can Google, I'm sure, that source as well.
Travel and Leisure actually put out a thing on 12 famous museums that you can virtually tour.
Yeah. But I would have to look that up. But I think a lot of museums are doing this right now, especially in order to keep families with kids occupied.
Yeah.
I know that a lot of families are stuck at home, and even in Chicago just today, like, you can't even take your kids in the stroller out on the lakeshore path anymore. Starting today. So I think a lot of families are going to be digging around for these types of home fun activities.
Well, and to put out a little plug, Rick Steves has a bunch of free content out there, which I think we'll probably use some of that in our in our stuff
Point
in
to
terms
some
of
of that.
and point to some of that. Well, not yet. Well, use that as like some of our cultural experiences, as watching some of his tours, or maybe doing a listen to one of his walking tour guides that he does in the different cities that you can download, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So go check that out. It's all, I think, free on his website. I'd highly recommend that.
Yeah, he has the
great
audio
content.
tours, and then he also has something called Classroom Europe, which are little snippets from his TV shows that talk about different elements of each destination. And so that's really cool if you're trying to learn about one museum, for example, because maybe he'll have an entire episode about Amsterdam and a little portion of it is about the Rijksmuseum. And so if you want to quickly learn about just the Rijksmuseum, you can find that on his website.
Yeah. It's a great resource for teachers and anybody who has stay-at-home kids now that they need to teach. It's a great resource to plug and play and get some culture there.
Yeah.
So Megan Morris asked if we have any upcoming travel plans that were canceled because of this. I would say that in terms of upcoming travel plans, we didn't have any on the calendar. We were looking at planning a number of trips to New York, LA,
and
stuff like that.
We were in Amsterdam 2 weeks ago and had to fly back before we were supposed to because of the travel ban that got implemented.
Yeah, so we were in Amsterdam the week.
Sorry.
I was just going to say the week that the travel restrictions were announced.
And so tomorrow is actually the 14th day since we've been home, and we are completely healthy still.
Yep.
I'm sure to everybody's delight.
To my delight.
To all of our delight.
So for those who don't know, because not everybody knows, right? So we were in Amsterdam on vacation. We were going to be there until basically for 8 days or so. And on the third day we were there, fourth day we were there.
Yeah,
the night of the third
Monday
day we were
morning, and then Wednesday evening is when Donald Trump announced the travel restrictions.
Yes. So we were kind of stuck a little flat-footed there, but when we decided to go to Europe, despite kind of everything that was going on in the world, we only did that because we knew that we had the flexibility to get back. If worst case scenario, I have a number of airline miles with one of the major airlines here in the United States because of work travel. So we knew that we could, book a last second, trip back with miles if we had to.
Otherwise, we wouldn't have gone.
Otherwise
Honestly,
we wouldn't have gone.
It was
we
too risky when we left. When
Yeah.
we made the decision finally that we were going to still go.
Yeah. But, as luck would have it, long story short, when the announcement happened that we had to make it back, we started...
He's not sweeping anything. He just keeps sweeping my desk.
I talk with my hands.
I'm sorry.
Pull a Jocelyn.
Ew. That was a horrible...
So we were in Europe, and we knew that we had to get back, and luckily, so Eliz travels a lot, but she travels a lot, using a very special route, which is one of her best friends is a flight attendant for one of the major airlines, so we were lucky enough to be able to fly standby using that as our way to get back. And it worked out great because that airline flies back from Amsterdam, has a number of flights, and so we had a number of contingencies. Our American flight that I had booked us on with miles kept getting delayed, so we were kind of concerned that we were not going to make it back. And luckily, the other airline left earlier. We were able to get on, clear the wait list for standby. And luckily, because we were flying standby using kind of, somebody who works at the airline's status, we're actually able to get business class back, which was pretty nice. Beats the heck out of my premium economy seats that I booked us with the other airline. So that kind of got cut short, which was a little bit of a downer. But we were still able to be there until Friday morning, basically. So we still got to see some things.
And one thing
cool.
that I don't think I really mentioned prior, but I realize I should, is that a big reason why we chose to go to Amsterdam is actually for my family heritage research. I am part Dutch, and got
she has
really,
the wood shoes to prove it.
I got really eager to identify some of the old family houses in Amsterdam, and try to locate where my great grandfather and great great grandfather had been buried. My grandfather came over to the U.S. in 1940, but had grown up in Amsterdam, so we knew a lot of those locations. And as the virus was getting worse and worse, we started to realize that it was going to be more and more important if I wanted to do that this year to do it. We've gotten really into, both of us have gotten a bit into genealogy research and just learning about the past through,
we did
through
the
our personal histories.
Yeah, we did the 23andMe stuff, so we kind of you spit into a cup, send it off. They do the research.
We did that and Ancestry.
And Ancestry. I would say that I recommend 23andMe to people. I think it gives better data, or at least more interesting data. It drills down a little bit more specifically into kind of where your family may or may not have come from. And based on everything I know about my family, it seemed relatively accurate, actually. Now we've done it. We've had a lot of our family do it, which is great. No weird, shocking surprises came out of that, so that's good. And it was great because we got to see. I'm very, I'm Polish. I'm Mexican. I'm a lot of things. I'm pretty much everything.
A lot of things.
They just they mixed up a bag with everything in it, and I came out.
And then I'm just like Northwestern European, so it's really fun to be able to see both of our results and see how the world lights up in that way, and explore the world from that way too.
Yeah, but it was really cool because we got to go out and do Amsterdam and kind of see where her grandfather was born and grew up.
Yeah.
Or not born, but where he grew up, and
my great grandfather born and grew up.
Yep, yeah. Exactly, and it was pretty special. We did do, looking back, there's kind of one thing that we did that, if you look back at, with the coronavirus happening and whatnot, maybe we shouldn't have done, was we did go to the Anne Frank house while we were there. That's something that the last time we were in Amsterdam back in 2014 we did not do, that we definitely wanted to do. And
that was a huge reason why we decided to self-quarantine, was knowing that we had done that, and we had been
pretty tight quarters
with
a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so we did that. I would say, maybe skip it currently with everything that's going on if you find yourself out there and there's still some corona stuff going on, but highly worth it otherwise. I think it was a phenomenal experience, very powerful, very moving. More so than I think most museums. So, especially given the recency of everything and just how deeply personal it is in terms of having, most of us have read, her diary and everything. So.
And I posted on my Instagram story. Derek's opening his drink.
White Claw.
I posted on my Instagram story right after going to the Anne Frank house, just wanting to kind of record the feeling that I had coming out of it. Because it's so impactful no matter who you are, but even more so, I'm not Jewish, but my grandfather left during the war and was able to leave, and the guilt that I felt for that ability was strong.
So Megan Morris, I was supposed to go to Turkish Riviera yesterday, received my hotel refund, but still waiting on refunds from United and Lufthansa. That's interesting. So the Turkish Riviera,
which is
where is that?
So they have.
I assume
that's
Turkey.
Where those really cool boats are, along
Istanbul?
It's kind of south of Istanbul.
Okay.
So I wish I could pull up a map for Derek and for all of you guys, but it's supposed to, I think it's called the Blue Coast or something. It's got all these incredible ancient ruins.
A lot of Greeks. There's a ton of Greek colonies there on that part of Asia Minor, Turkey, and some two of the wonders of the ancient world were on that coast.
Yeah. I believe both Rudy Maxa and Rick Steves have done travel shows about the Turkish Riviera, if I'm recalling the travel guides correctly. And Megan, I am so sorry that got canceled because it just looked completely stunning, and it sounds like you took the right time of year theoretically to go, because it wouldn't be too hot yet, but not too cold either. Hopefully you're going to be kind of just bobbing along the coastline and seeing all those ruins that I believe you can only see by water, a lot of them.
All right, so there it is, guys. That's the Turkish Riviera. It's the southwest. I keep doing this wrong. But it's the southwest part of Turkey.
Down a little bit.
And yeah, that sounds like an awesome trip, Megan. I'm sorry that got canceled.
Yeah, that's such a bummer. I assume you were flying into Istanbul. You said through United and Lufthansa. So you received your hotel refund, which is great. Let us know if you booked through anything in particular.
Travelocity, or did you go directly through the hotels or travel agent, or kind of how did you do that? Because honestly, Turkey is a huge destination that we'd love to get to. I'd love to do Istanbul. I would love to do Cappadocia. I think Turkish Riviera sounds really, really cool. I'm a sucker for ruins and Greek ruins especially, and I think that would be an awesome trip. So
yeah,
love to learn more.
Yeah. Wow, Megan, so sorry that was canceled again. But okay, so you're saying yes, you were right. We wanted to go specifically this time of year. Did Greece this time last year. Good choice. Better pricing and not as hot as in the summer. I think. Oh man, I'll just have to go in 2021.
Yeah.
Darn. Hopefully, United and Lufthansa get back to you soon. But they're probably processing so many things right now. We actually had an issue. So we ended up this week trying to get our refund on the miles that we had booked on American during that whole backstory of trying to get home. And Derek was on the phone for 45 minutes with a customer service person, talked to like 3 different people before they finally figured out how to do it.
Yeah, which was fine, because all in, it was actually relatively quick. I think it was like 40 minutes I was on the phone trying to get him back. But if you compare that to what it was the first time we did it and canceled, there was like a 2-hour lag between when I just called in and when I got a call back. So I mean, it was still relatively quick, which is nice.
Okay, so she's saying that the flight going there was through Munich. Well, that makes sense, especially if it's Lufthansa. And then Zurich on the way back. Cool.
Zurich's lovely. If you are flying through Zurich, any of the Swiss airports, Zurich or what's the other one? What's the other one?
Sorry, what's
in Switzerland? Zurich and
Geneva.
That's it. Geneva.
Basel.
No, it was Geneva. So Geneva and Zurich, at least in those two, there's a really, really good chocolate spot. So if you're flying through there, Megan, thank you, Megan. Geneva. If you're flying through there, though, you should definitely stop at there. There's a really good chocolate spot. Do you remember what it was called? I brought back that box of chocolates. It was ungodly expensive, but delicious. We savored
I ate
them.
all of them too, and I have no.
We savored them for way longer than we probably should have, but it was so good. So I highly recommend it. It's the Swiss chocolate place inside the terminal.
Derek went to Switzerland for work in November. And then we were still kind of munching on those into the holiday season.
Yep. It was awesome, and if you look around and stare at things long enough, they'll offer you a sample. It's really nice.
So it's funny, Megan, that you're saying not a big United fan. I was just saying, I think it was on the last live stream, that I don't fly United that much, despite the fact that we live in Chicago and that's the international headquarters, and it's not necessarily because of.
Well, it's not that we're not fans.
Yeah, we're not anything anti-United. It's that I think because we used to live in New York, and because my best friend flies for a different airline, and Derek flies for another airline, flies with. Sorry,
not
Derek
for. I'm not a pilot.
Not work in the airline industry.
No.
He flies with another airline for work. We just don't fly United as much, but a lot of people do here.
Yeah.
I like it.
And
but I'm sure there's different experiences in different.
I know a ton of people that fly United, and that's like their go-to airline, and they love it. Okay, so Megan, again, so actually went to Zurich, Lucerne, and Geneva in January. So yeah, that sounds lovely. I'm sure that I don't know if you ski. Great. I don't know if you're skiing or anything. That would have been quite snowy then, but that's really cool.
And you went to Morocco too?
Did you go to Morocco in January during that same trip, or is that a separate trip that you went to Morocco on? And also where in Morocco? Because Morocco is quite big from a landmass perspective, and there's a ton of cities that are worth seeing there. I've only been to the northern part, to like Tangier and Chefchaouen, that part that's very easily accessible from southern Spain. But if we were to go again, I think we would probably go to Casablanca, probably flying through Casablanca and do some of that.
She went to Marrakesh.
Marrakesh would be really cool.
Oh, that's so great. Derek's been to Morocco and I have not. We were talking about going there this year, actually.
Before all this stuff happened, yeah.
So we'll see if we have any ability to do so. We were looking at Morocco and we were looking at Australia. Months ago.
Yeah, because
this year.
Yeah, if you look at kind of our bucket list things that we're trying to get done in the next couple of years, one of them was we want to together have been to all the continents with the exclusion of Antarctica, because that's just hard and inexpensive to get to. But so what we really needed to do was Australia, and we needed to do Africa. I've been to Africa, but she hadn't, so Australia, then I would have it done. If we went to Morocco or South Africa or something, then we would both have Africa done, which would be really cool. And that's just for continents, and then you get down into like more like regional things that we really need to do, and we still haven't done like Eastern Europe really much at all of that. I think the Middle East is a place that we need to get to that we haven't done. If we went to North Africa, we'd also want to go to like Sub-Saharan Africa and all that. So there's a lot to see and do in the world. So
totally. And yeah, I mean, we really wanted to hit up some new continents this year. Probably not going to. I mean, maybe.
I don't know. We'll
maybe
see.
This fall.
We'll see.
Hopefully. Please. But yeah, so Megan was saying she did Australia last year. Megan, you're so well traveled. It's really great to connect with you. Let us know where in Australia you went. I think we, of course, are open to any and all suggestions.
Yeah, they're opening up well, we'll see. They were supposed to be opening up a direct flight to Brisbane from Chicago, which would have been really cool to do that as a direct flight. But it sounds like that's, I don't know what's going to happen with that. That was supposed to open up in April, I think, so I don't know.
Yeah, it was actually, you're right. It was supposed to open April 20th from Brisbane to Chicago. I bet it's not. I'm guessing, Megan, you're asking if we've been traveling. Yeah, traveling for a while. I would say that we have, but we've zeroed in a little bit more on Europe than other parts of the world. We've only recently started kind of branching out to other continents. And that was really because we used to live in New York for so long, and it was so easy to get to Europe from New York City.
Yeah. Well, why don't we take it back a little bit? So if you think back to kind of our travel history, we're lucky enough that we've been together for a long time.
Yes, we've been together since we were 18, which was in 2006.
Way to age us. So we've been together for a while, since college, and when we were in college, we both studied abroad. When we were juniors, she went to London, I went to Spain, and while we were there, we kind of made an effort to see each other, and kind of once a month, she would either, she came down to me first because I was in southern Spain, so the weather was nicer, so she came down to Sevilla. I went to London, we met in Paris, we did Italy together, so we did a number of things while we were abroad because it was easy and relatively cheap. And then, fast forward to graduation, we graduated college, and we both ultimately ended up in New York. And when we were looking at kind of our annual vacation time, my line of work, you don't get a lot of vacation time, but when you do, you kind of take it. So
neither did my work.
Yeah, exactly. Both of us. And so we kind
Dang
of
it, those day jobs.
we knew that we had like one good vacation that we could do each year, and we decided to always take advantage of that and go for about 10 days to Europe. So in that time, we went to Wales, England, Amsterdam, France, Italy,
The Netherlands.
the Netherlands, I think I said that, Belgium. We
We've
did
been
a
to
number
lot
of those
Western
things.
Europe.
A lot of Western Europe. And then when we got married a few years back, we went down to South America for the first time. And we did 3.5 weeks in South America, in Argentina, Uruguay, and Chile. And we did that for 3.5 weeks in a carry-on, which was, I still think, a very,
That's when I
good
learned how
endeavor.
to pack light. And that's why I'm packing videos as soon as this travel ban is lifted.
Yeah.
I have a few already, but
And we loved South America. We thought that was really cool. And so then this last year, then we after coming back from that, we did China.
Yep.
We did China for 10 or 11 days, and we did
Beijing and Shanghai.
Beijing, Shanghai. Took the train in between, which was pretty cool.
Derek got to go for work to Asia a couple of times last year, though, so he's
Yeah.
been to more places than me.
Yeah, I went for work, so I went to Singapore, Hong Kong, and Japan.
Darlene Zacarias seems like not that long ago. I'm guessing that we were 18.
Good to see you, Mom.
But Megan, definitely Bondi Beach, Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane would be really cool. Gold Coast would be really cool. I know that
Bondi Beach.
we were actually, because there was going to be that flight directly from Chicago to Brisbane.
Yeah.
And Brisbane's kind of that jumping off point to where you can more easily get to the Great Barrier Reef. We were definitely looking in that area. It's a lot more jungly up north of Brisbane, and just really great for us nature lovers. We both love nature photography, landscape photography.
Yep.
And we were really just super enthusiastic about that area for sure. And then Derek really wanted to go to Sydney, and I do too. But like I feel like his passion was even stronger.
Well, I mean, of course. I mean, I want to go out on a boat, and I want to photograph it like sunrise or sunset, like the whole Sydney Opera House and everything. I think that'd be pretty cool.
And then yes, New Zealand too, Ruth. I think we would probably have to do that on a separate trip unless we had like a whole month out there, because there's so much in Australia that we want to see. And I've heard that from a lot of friends that have gone to New Zealand recently, which I guess it's been a pretty poppin' destination, because we have a ton of friends that went to New Zealand in the past year. It sounds like you really need like 2 weeks there in order to see both the North and South Island. And so I think that's certainly on the list. We just aren't looping it in with Australia necessarily, just because of the way that we like to travel. It's a little bit more slow and therefore more meaningful to us.
Yeah, bungee jumping would be fun. I don't know. I think that'd be fun. She's not into it.
I'm not gonna do it. Our friends did it. I think there's like the highest bungee jump in the world or something out in New Zealand, and
Sounds cool.
It doesn't sound like my cup of tea, but I applaud everybody who does it.
Yeah. The Four Seasons in Sydney, I'm sure that's lovely. That sounds really nice.
Awesome.
And then I for sure want to go to Argentina, Uruguay this year. Only been to Ecuador and South America. So Megan, if you're in Uruguay, the steak is delightful. They have, fun fact about Uruguay, they have more head of cattle than they do people. So that's pretty cool. They actually have very decent red wine. It's very tasty. You really enjoyed it.
It's the specific grape that's really only grown in Uruguay is called the Tannat grape, Tannat, and it's delicious. It's similar to like a Cabernet Sauvignon, if you're into wine, which I am. I'm just not drinking it right now.
Yeah.
I drank like too much on the last live stream, but I I really enjoyed that, and I was actually able to find it at our local liquor store for the first time, Binny's, in like the South America section, and I was so excited. And it's just as delicious as I remember it.
Yeah.
So if anybody wants to try Uruguayan wine, Binny's has got you covered right now.
Yeah, and basically if you're going to Argentina, you really, I mean, there's no option other than to fly in and out of Buenos Aires.
Sorry, I thought we were talking about wine
kind
still.
Kind of like all the flights even within Argentina, if you want to go to other places and hop around, you always need to kind of come back to Buenos Aires. So we did. We flew into Buenos Aires. We then, how did we do this? We went into Buenos Aires. We then took a ferry across to Colonia.
Colonia del Sacramento.
Colonia del Sacramento
which
in
was
Uruguay, which
actually
is
my favorite spot in Uruguay.
Highly recommend it. Stay a day or two. It's pretty, it's a very calming type of place. It's not like high energy clubs or anything like that, but it's lovely.
There's a wonderful hotel right on the coast.
El Charco.
Yes, it's called El Charco. They have an Instagram if you want to check it out. And they post like their rooms and the gourmet food that they have a really
great
good
restaurant. It's right on the water. It's in the old town.
Yeah.
The building's probably hundreds of years old from the colonial days. It's quite.
But it's a small boutique hotel, so of course we got to promote them right now more than ever because those hotels are so.
They need to stay in business.
Yeah, I mean they're the ones that are hurting the most, and we just have the most magical times at boutique hotels. Yeah.
So what we did was we did that. We then rented a car and we drove around. We drove to Montevideo and we stayed in Montevideo for a night or something like that. You can probably do Montevideo in like a day or so. And then we drove out from there to do the beaches, and we ended up in Punta del Este, which was pretty cool. I'll take that back.
It was very expensive.
Punta del Este is very expensive. It's like South Beach.
Yeah, it's like kind of... Punta del Este is kind of like where all the rich Brazilians and Argentinians go to vacation. Yeah. So it's kind of like if you were going to some like South Beach combined with the Hamptons. Every restaurant is insanely expensive. Like we had a roll of sushi that cost like $29 US.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy. You would expect to save some money on food when you're down there, and that was not the case there.
I mean, it's beautiful.
Beautiful. It was great.
Of really cool resort hotels. And there's this one place, and the reason why we went all the way that direction was because I saw on Samantha Brown's show a long, long time ago. There's this one hotel/museum there that was created by an Uruguayan artist that is called Casa Pueblo, and you guys should look this up. It's just one word: CASAPUEBLO, and it is kind of in that like Santorini vibe where everything's whitewashed right on the water, and you get this beautiful view. And there's an art museum attached to it because the artist who built this residence wanted a place to showcase his art too. And so you can tour the art museum even if you're not staying at the hotel. We did not stay at the hotel because we did not book far enough in advance. You have to book like literally a year in advance. Derek's pulling up a photo of it. You might want to rotate. Yeah, that's... I miss it so much. And the really cool thing about that particular place is that the actual architecture, at least what Samantha Brown told me, is that there's no straight lines.
Straight lines? Yeah, it's all kind of...
It's all kind of curved, and it flows like the waves. So it's beautiful.
Yeah, looking back, I would definitely stay there. If we went back again, I would definitely stay at that hotel. Or try to find some of the smaller beach towns and stay in more of like a boutique type hotel, which would be, I think,
and
pretty
figure out
cool.
how to grocery shop because...
It was expensive.
Yeah, the food was a lot.
So the thing was, and then from there we went back to, I think, Montevideo to fly, or maybe it was the Punta del Este airport. I don't even remember.
Yes, $29 for a roll of sushi, by the way, is a lot like Switzerland, and it was brutal.
Yeah, it was, but it wasn't as good as raclette, which is very good in Switzerland. So we we then flew. I think we actually flew from Punta del Este to Buenos Aires. It was like the most small airport I can imagine. Like security line.
2 gates.
It had like 2 gates, maybe 3 gates. You like stuck your bag on like a 5-foot long conveyor belt. It went through a little scanner. There's guys with machine guns. They're like, go for it, and we're like, okay,
But there was a
done.
duty-free shop.
And there was a duty-free shop, which is kind of weird. And so we flew back, and so literally everything goes through Buenos Aires. So we flew back to Buenos Aires, and then we flew down to Bariloche from there. Right? Is Bariloche nice?
Yep.
Yeah, so when we flew down to Bariloche, which is in the south, we did that for
Christmas.
Christmas. It was beautiful. Like, talk about stunning views. It feels like Lake Como meets Colorado. It's a phenomenal place. Highly recommend it. Great beer because of, massive amounts of like German and Swiss
culture is rampant down there because they had a lot of immigrants move
back in like the late
Bariloche.
1800s.
So they have a chocolate factory there that makes like Swiss style chocolates.
Yep.
Which are delicious. They
Lots
have
of stray
breweries.
dogs.
That's not Swiss or German,
but no, that's a great spot. We did that, and then we wanted to go up to Mendoza, and we could either take like a 15-hour bus ride, or we could fly back to Buenos Aires and then fly again, and we ended up saving like half a day in travel, I think, to do that.
Yeah.
Did Mendoza, did the whole wine country thing, and then...
Which I know Mark Walters talks about a lot, when he discovered that he loves wine.
Yeah, which is
So
awesome.
shout out to Mark Walters there, because Mendoza, the wines are phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, we were down there because we were there in like December, January time frame. It was their summertime. It was hot. It was very, very hot. It was like 90s, upper 90s every time.
It was 100 degrees one day. Derek had to buy a tank top.
I bought man tanks. It was not my best look, but I was like, I'm on my honeymoon. I don't care. We did. I did horseback riding at sunset in a man tank that I bought, and I think it had a sunset on the back of it. It was
because like the only tank tops we could find were at some surf shop,
surf
which made no sense
There's
because
no
it's not on the
beach. There's no beach. I don't know why we had a surf shop. So we did all that. Yeah,
travel stories.
Travel. So we did all that, and then we ended up, going to Santiago in Chile, and to do that again, we flew into Buenos Aires again, traded planes, and then went over to Santiago. So I think we flew into Buenos Aires like 4 times, which was great.
Yes.
Do you guys use Amex Platinum or Chase Sapphire Reserve for airport lounge access?
We have both.
So we have both. We are credit card junkies.
I wouldn't say
in
that,
terms of points, we like points. We like the perks that come with the different ones. So we have both of those. We use the reserve.
We use the benefits of Amex Platinum and Sapphire Reserve beyond just accumulating points, which is great when you travel a lot generally because you can get great rewards on airplane travel. I think it's with Amex, and hotels with Chase Sapphire Reserve. Or did I reverse that? Either way, but because I fly a specific airline standby, I'm not going to name it, but you guys can all figure this out pretty easily.
But because of her Amex Platinum card, she gets access to their lounge network.
Yes, I get access to all of their lounges.
Which is super helpful for her. Given that I don't fly that airline very much for work, it's less beneficial, but it's
not
definitely
very big in Chicago.
It's not very big in Chicago. The lounge here kind of sucks. I'm also very salty about the fact that for whatever reason, even though O'Hare is one of the busiest airports in the United States, it doesn't have a Centurion lounge with Amex Platinum. So, because I really enjoy those lounges. I think the food is great, good alcohol. It's really great.
Also, I feel like having lounge access is great for me too because I have some dietary restrictions. I can't eat dairy. Well, I shouldn't eat dairy. I'm lactose intolerant. I'm not allergic.
And when I make escargot, she will eat.
The fact that many of those lounges just have like veggies and hummus or like oatmeal at breakfast can be a lifesaver for me. Just being able to have a snack that I know is going to be dairy free.
Yeah. And Darlene Zacarias says, Where are those pictures? Question mark dad. So I assume that's my dad asking where are the pictures of me in a, I'm assuming, tank top riding a horse. They exist. I will show them to you the next time I see you guys. Dad, Evan, and I are watching together. Awesome.
Nice. Hi, guys.
Hey, guys.
Yes,
those pictures do exist. I will find those.
We got them.
Clearly, they did not go on my Instagram, though.
There's also, I believe, in our Instagram stories, video.
Yeah, those are probably there. And I have those on my...
Of that tank.
Yeah, if you go to my Instagram, at Mr. Music Travel, you'll see the shameless plug. Right?
Derek has a really great Instagram.
I'm the husband. I'm allowed to. Like underneath it, there's like the buttons for like the different stories and stuff. And if you scroll back a ways, you'll see stuff from like Argentina and whatnot. You can see some of the different stories from back then. We tried to kind of capture as much of it as we could to kind of so we can go back and relive it, later, like now. It was great, and we did some great restaurants.
That was before
while we were
I was
there.
creating a lot of this content, though.
Yeah, we were still capturing it though. It was pretty cool, and I would say that if you're in like Buenos Aires or if you're in any of these places, one of the things that I really love is the culinary aspect in terms of really connecting to a culture via food. I think I grew up in a household that appreciated good, tasty food, and it's always been a way to kind of experience and celebrate different cultures, whether it's our own culture and some of the different spices and things that we like to use, or experiencing something new in another culture. I still distinctly remember having caracoles in Sevilla, which is little snails, and being like, screw it, this is their culture, that's awesome. And it tasted good. It was very kumani.
How was that prepared? Because I've only had escargot.
It's like a soup with the shells.
Kidding.
It's like a big bowl with the shells and
kind of interesting.
It's very tasty. Highly recommend it. The key to it though is they need to be cleaned very well, because otherwise sand can get in there, and then that's kind of gritty and that's not good. But yeah, no, it's very tasty.
Yeah, I could see that. I feel like we've missed a few things. Let me see. Okay, so we talked about Amex Platinum and Chase Sapphire. Yes. They're great. They have really high annual fees, so it's not the card for everybody. It's really the card for frequent travelers.
Yeah, so I'd say Amex is great for travel. It's phenomenal because you get 5 times points if you book straight through the airlines. I think if you book through their hotel, Fine Hotel and Resorts, you get 5 times points as well.
Oh yeah, we can talk about our experience with Amex Platinum,
which is pretty neat.
Booking all of our hotels in China.
Yeah, so we used our Amex to go through the Fine Resorts and hotels when we were in Beijing.
Which is a benefit that you get as an Amex Platinum card holder.
Yeah, so we did that in Beijing. When we were in Shanghai, we were actually staying with friends who lived there, which was great, and they lived in the French concession area, or the former French concession area, which was very cool. And when we ended up going up to Beijing, we ended up staying at the Rosewood, which is a really nice hotel. I will say really nice hotel, like top notch, awesome buffets and all that kind of stuff. And because we booked through the Fine Resorts and hotels, we got the breakfast for free. We got
one dinner for free.
We got like a dinner for free. Well, it was a certain amount. I think we got like $200 to spend at a restaurant. So that they have a French restaurant, and so by that point we're like,
it might be like $100 or $200 off of dinner. I'm sorry if I said it wrong.
Yeah. So we ended up going to the French restaurant because at that point we were kind of midway through our China adventure, and we're like, we need something that's not Chinese food for one night.
We also ate Peking duck the next night at the hotel.
And the next night we had Peking duck, which was delicious. They actually have a very well regarded like Chinese restaurant that we went to, which was pretty cool. And yeah, so the Rosewood's great. I will say beds are not the most comfortable. At least they're pretty hard.
Yeah.
And I think that might come from Mal's Little Red Book. He talks about like you shouldn't sleep in a lot, or at least that's what we were told. I don't know, but the beds were pretty hard. It wasn't great, but
we were told that if you want kind of a more Western bed,
Go to like a Hyatt or
go
something.
to a American brand hotel, yeah. But also probably read the reviews still anyway before booking, because it seems like the firm mattresses were running rampant around China.
Yeah. But no, we really we enjoyed Beijing. Beijing was really cool. We lucked out because we got very nice weather while we were in China.
And like literally we had days that there was no smog, which apparently doesn't happen.
The day when it rained really hard was the day when we were on a train from Shanghai up to Beijing.
Yeah.
So it didn't really affect us much. And then when we arrived in Beijing, because of the rain, it cleared out all the smog and everything. So we had blue skies, like with like fluffy white clouds when we were at the Imperial City, which was awesome, or the Forbidden City. And then when we were at the Great Wall of China, same thing, blue skies, fluffy white clouds. It was awesome.
Yeah. Now, when we were told by our guide at the Great Wall of China that you only get
lucky.
sunny weather 2 days a month, and we were there on one of those days, so we certainly had travel luck on our side.
Yeah.
But yeah, Megan, Amex has really good customer service too. That's something to be said. So you used it for a Vegas trip. Interesting. We've only been to Vegas for conferences.
Yeah.
At least you went as a kid. But in recent years, we've only been for conferences, and it was hard to book hotels. But I would love to try some of the other Vegas hotels that are like a little bit nicer and probably cheaper when conferences aren't in town.
Yeah. Well, I still think that we could do a really cool trip to Vegas, like as like a 4-day weekend or something like that.
We just went in January, and I posted a bunch of stuff from like Hoover Dam and Red Rock Canyon.
Yeah.
On top
you go
of
check that out.
Some of the stuff from the Vegas
Did you do a
trip.
video on that?
I did a video last year on the top 10 things to make sure you bring to Vegas, which is actually a pretty good performing video on my channel.
Yeah, and it, this last time, so, the last time we went there, I guess 2 years ago, before this last year, she, was more in Vegas. And so this last time, Eliz isn't a big Vegas person. She's not like playing the craps or anything like that. So she wanted to get out and explore.
The first time I went to Vegas, I left my wallet on the airplane, so I didn't have any money to gamble.
Let hilarity not ensue.
Yeah, that was
not fun.
But
no, so
travel fun.
Travel fun. So she went out and she did a whole trying to get out of the city more, out of the strip, try different things, and I think you really enjoyed it more this year than past years.
Yeah, and I really like nature too, and it's such a, especially compared to Chicago, it's such a different part of the country that it's really cool to see the landscape just outside of Vegas.
And I will say it's a very, very short drive from Vegas up north to Zion and to Ivins, Utah, where Bob and Terry are. It's a beautiful part of the country, and I'll say Zion National Park is stunning. It's really nice.
And we have our National Parks Pass now too, after staying with Bob and Terry over in that area. And Zion National Park was definitely one of the top ones that we visited. Yeah,
we it's funny. We've only been, in the last 12 months, we've only been to national parks in Utah. We've been to both Arches and Canyonlands. We've been to...
Technically, I think Indiana
Zion.
Dunes is a national park.
That was more than 12 months ago.
Oh, sorry.
But yeah, so it was
only
great.
like a half hour from where we live. We haven't been in the last 12 months, apparently.
But this last one, did you talk about Canyon Ranch?
No.
So this last time, she also did like a whole spa day on my birthday, by the way. She did a spa day while I was in meetings from like 8 a.m. till 9 p.m. But tell them about it.
I wrote a blog post all about it, all about my special day at the spa. Well, it was phenomenal, actually. So if you ever are looking for something to do in Vegas that is actually relaxing and like makes you feel like you're somehow transported out of Vegas, go there. Canyon Ranch. No, it's in the Venetian. And it was really cool because if you book one spa experience, which is pricier than the average spa experiences other parts of the country. But like, I think it was like $179 for a massage, but then they typically have a 20% off coupon code listed on their website. And then you can literally be there all day. So I went at like 9 in the morning, did their whole aqua spa by myself. There was nobody else there for a very long time. And they have all these different spa experiences even to do before your session starts. They have like a relaxation room too where you can read magazines. And then I also did a free yoga class because they have free workout classes there. If you do, like, it's free if you have a session.
She made a day of it. That's what she's trying to say.
So I was there for like 7 or 8 hours by myself.
Having fun.
Blissing out. Yeah. I don't know what else to say other than that. And then Derek was like, "How was your day?" And I was like, "I don't want to tell you."
She met up.
It was so great.
So we were staying at the Mirage. Was it not the Mirage? Where were we staying
at? MGM Grand.
MGM Grand. I wouldn't.
Not the top.
Do that
not the top
again.
one.
We were at the Mirage last year.
Yeah.
So she met us at like a Mexican place, like after our long day of meetings, and I'm drinking like a margarita with QUARAN-TEA in it, like just trying to recover from a long day at a conference. And she looked very well rested and lovely as always. But no, it was a good trip this last time.
Very sweet. I felt so bad. I felt so guilty. But I had a great time, and I highly recommend it.
Okay, Karen Mack.
Well, Megan was there, she said, for a bachelorette party, which is another reason why people go.
Sounds like a hard weekend.
Yeah.
But Karen Mack, how did you come up with your channel name? She likes it.
Thank you.
How did you come up with it?
Hi, Karen. Welcome. So basically, the tagline that I have for Means to Travel is meaningful travel and the means to get there. So what I focus on is that play on words behind the word means, where I want to make sure that I help anyone who means to travel more find the means to do so, whether that be money-saving tips, packing tips, just destination information. And then also just focusing on making travel more meaningful. So I specifically do that within, talking about just deep dives into destinations, or making sure that my captions on my travel photography on Instagram talk about a place in terms of something that's an important thing to take away, an insight from a destination.
And I'm Mr. Means to Travel because she
he's
took
married to me.
she took my name when we got married, and I took her name in Instagram, I guess.
So.
Yeah, no, it's great. Favorite.
He liked it too, so
I liked it too, so I took it, which was great. So, favorite food city. Megan loves escargot and raclette. So, favorite food city is not anywhere in Switzerland except for the chocolate. The chocolate's pretty great.
Okay, so
I think
I have
Paris,
been to Lyon in France, which is like the culinary capital of France.
AKA the world.
Paris is apparently not. Lyon is. And that's because there's a very, very famous French chef who's from Lyon and really made it into a gastronomic destination.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I would say that anywhere in France you can get phenomenal food.
Yeah.
It's Lyon was great, and like you could probably walk into any restaurant and have a wonderful meal.
Amboise in the Loire Valley had a very nice restaurant that Rick Steves actually recommends. It's like in the shadow of the castle.
It was so nice.
Great
We went there
cheese
twice.
Platter. We went there twice. It was really good.
I know that
Highly
one.
recommend it. Can't think of the name of it, but it's a lovely experience.
And honestly, I think I mentioned to everybody before that I'm lactose intolerant, and I just take my little lactate pills with me because France has the best food. But you know, I don't actually react as much in France as I do here.
Which is why when we do our France video that we're talking about, where it's the stay at home and experience another culture from the comfort of your own home, we're going to be cooking with dairy, guys. We're going to do it. And she's going to love it.
I'm sure it's going to
Escargot, French
phenomenal.
bread.
Yeah.
All the good stuff. I'm excited. We don't need to get the shells. We just need to find snails.
Yeah.
It's going to be so good.
What other places have we had really good meals?
Argentina,
yes.
had some great. There's a restaurant in Argentina. It's in the neighborhood that they call Soho, and it is called Tegui, Tegui, and it's one of these like tasting menu type places, very fancy.
I think we had like 12 courses.
So many courses. I don't remember the end of the meal. The problem is that they also serve you alcohol. They give you a glass of wine with each. We paid, I think it was like $50 per person to like add on a wine pairing with each course. Well, when there's like 10 courses, that's 10 glasses of wine. And they were not pouring you tastes of wine. They were pouring you like a full glass of wine. And what I didn't realize, because I was like, I'm a completist, I'm going to finish each glass, was they will pour you more wine if you finish the wine. So, needless to say, I had a great time. It was a lot of fun. Highly recommend it.
I'm also going to add one more city in here, because I feel like I need to give it a nod, and that's a domestic city, and that's New York.
Yes.
So, we used to live in New York for 8 years, and what was really unique about New York City is that I felt almost everywhere you would walk into was going to have above average quality of food. You didn't obviously check Yelp reviews and stuff like that, but you didn't necessarily need to in the same way as a lot of other parts of the U.S. with New York City.
The competition is so high.
That's what I was about to say. It's because the competition is so strong. There's so many great graduates from the Culinary Institute of America that go down to New York or something like that, because that's up in the Hudson Valley. And so basically, you need to have really good food in order to survive. Otherwise, you just won't. So New York always had just really, really top-notch options.
A lot of Michelin-starred restaurants and all that kind of stuff. And even, one of the cheaper Michelin-star restaurants, there's a place in Long Island City, New York, that is really good. It's called Casa Enrique, and highly recommend it. It's like a taqueria. They've got some more of like the mole type dishes and stuff like that are bigger, more decadent and rich. But you can go there and just get tacos and guacamole, and it's relatively affordable.
For a Michelin-star restaurant.
They have lengua, which is beef tongue, so good. So real quick, because Megan is saying that New York's good, but she prefers LA.
Especially for sushi.
Sushi.
Sugarfish is a great restaurant that started in LA. Wonderful sushi.
But I have a bone to pick, because I pick bones. Sugarfish is good in LA. We went there. We went to the one in Santa Monica in the shopping mall that they have out there with a good buddy of ours. And I was so excited because I'd been to the Sugarfish in New York. We'd been there probably a few months prior. And I really enjoyed it. It was so good. We did like the chef tasting menu and all that. It was delicious. But what I loved about it, and I bring this up every time, people are like, dude, get over it. But in New York, you go to the restroom. Okay, it's all about the bathroom,
We're following.
guys.
You're in the bathroom.
It's all about the bathroom.
Okay.
You go to the bathroom, and there's 2 soap dispensers. There is a scentless soap dispenser for using before your meal, and there's a scented soap dispenser for after your meal, because they're really into hand rolls, like the conical ones that you eat with your hand. And so they don't want you to have scented soap on your hands before you do that, because that'll interfere with the taste and flavors and everything.
Derek was devastated when there weren't 2 soaps.
And then we went to LA, which is like the hometown, and they didn't have 2 soap dispensers, and I felt robbed of that whole experience because I was like, oh, this is great. I was telling like our buddy, I was like, they have 2 soap dispensers. It's great. It's like so thoughtful, and it's all about like how thoughtful
Attention
it
to
is,
detail.
right? It's attention to detail.
It's
That's
taking pride in the artistic quality of your cuisine. Yeah.
And they let me down, and that's really sad. But sure, it was still delicious. I mean, come on, it was still really good.
The sushi was phenomenal, and Megan's totally right. Sushi on the West Coast is really good. Really good.
So extra, yes. But yeah, no. Santa Monica is really where we've been to the most in LA.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of good restaurants out there. Blue Plate, is it? What is it called? Blue Plate Oyster. Oysterette is really good.
I think that's right.
We actually ran into some people who went to high school there.
Yeah.
School with. Big fan.
And then I was
food.
like, oh hey, and then the next day we all went to yoga together because I mean
I didn't go to yoga.
When in LA, like that's what one does.
Yeah, it's funny. We were sitting there and Eliz was like, I think I might know them.
Yeah.
And then they're like, Eliz? And then they invited her to yoga, and I was there for work again. So she went to yoga, I went to work. It was great.
Small world. And to be clear, I went to high school in Chicago.
Yes.
Chicago area.
But yeah, no, I guess in the U.S., New York, L.A. are both great. Chicago is actually a phenomenal, like really, really good food scene. Highly recommend it. One of the best restaurants in the world is here at Linea. We've never been. It's quite pricey. We need to get there.
I would say Chicago's food scene is a little bit more on like heavier foods.
Chicago pizza.
Yeah, like pizza, burgers. Like we're trying to do the unhealthy foods best here.
But we also have Alinea. We also have some decent sushi places. We've got there's some haute cuisine here. I wouldn't go to Milwaukee for haute cuisine, maybe, but
don't
okay,
don't
fine.
hate
I won't hate on Milwaukee.
They've got enough to deal with.
But yeah, no. Within the United States, probably Chicago, New York, and LA are to me the best.
Megan, that's so interesting because I actually prefer East Coast oysters because they're slightly sweeter, in my opinion. Overall, and so, I mean, teach their own. Totally. West Coast oysters are still great, but that's funny because I always tell people I prefer East Coast.
I can't tell the difference personally. And then Italy, we didn't mention Italy, but Italy's got great food. Highly recommend going to Italy for the food, pasta, pizza, other dishes, I guess.
Karen Mack is with me on the East Coast oysters, so at least I have some solidarity going on in the chat.
I just eat what
Derek
she orders.
Eats whatever, and honestly. Like, I would not turn down a West Coast oyster.
We actually...
I love oysters.
There's a restaurant right by here called Cafe Concale, which is like a French Riviera-inspired restaurant that has a lot of oysters and stuff that we went to for the first time probably a month before the whole Corona thing happened. And we were hoping to go there more often because they actually have a decent happy hour special that we wanted to take advantage of, but... Yeah. Unfortunately, we can't do that now.
You know what I heard? Oyster rumors. You heard it here
God.
first. I heard that the best oysters in the world come off of the coast of Namibia in Africa, and it's because of like the it's not the jet stream, it's like the ocean stream. What is that called? Whatever the like stream of water, I guess, kind of gets caught in this one section right off the coast of Namibia, and really creates this like very like nutritious not nutritious like
for the oysters very nutritious.
Yeah, basically yes, like there's a lot of like minerals and stuff, like nutritious elements for an oyster development, and it really amplifies the flavor. So I've
when
never
you're in
been
North
to
Africa,
it's like kind of, it's not, is it North Africa? But anyway.
Now we need to know because I said something that might not be true.
We don't spread fake news on this channel, especially about geography.
Why don't you just Google it?
Because I'm looking it up on the map. Yeah, no, it's definitely just,
Never mind. Not even almost
Yeah.
North Africa.
It's right above South Africa, which is the country of South Africa.
It's north of South Africa.
Yeah.
You heard it here. I was thinking, not Namibia. I was thinking of something else. Okay, so oysters in Copenhagen are amazing.
Really?
So
That's
good to
great. We'll
know.
have to. I've actually not been to Denmark yet. Need to go. I will definitely try the oysters now.
Home of the Little
We
Mermaid.
have had mussels in Brussels, and I've had.
You rhymed.
I know.
Mussels and
Oysters
Brussels.
from Galway, which are also, I think, pretty internationally known. Straight out of Galway Bay, which was awesome.
Nice. So next travel plans when this is all over. So I would say that that's hard to pin down.
One thing that we really felt resonated with us was what the Waltersville people were saying, and that is to go to a lot of the countries that have been hit the hardest with coronavirus. And because we have this platform, we want to make sure that the tourism industry in a lot of those countries like Italy, even though we've already been to Italy, just making sure to really touch on the regrowth that needs to happen within the entire travel world.
And the part of Italy that's been so hard hit is a part that we actually really love, which is kind of that northern Italy area, like Piedmont and whatnot, Lombardy. And
Turin was not necessarily my favorite city that I visited, but it's super impacted by this virus, unfortunately. And that's
Milan, right?
And Milan.
Milan's
and we loved the people there. We loved the food. We loved the wine. The whole experience was...
The wine was delicious.
So just making sure that we all, once it's safe, start visiting there again will be important.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's too early to tell. We're planning in terms of we want to still go to Australia. We want to still go to Morocco. And so we're using this time to plan out what that would look like, but also keeping in mind some of the places that are going to need a little bit more voices to help them out.
Yeah. So Italy would be high up on the list. We haven't been there in a number of years. I think going to one of the places that we want to go to is Mexico. Actually, we really want to make it to Mexico City pretty soon. I think that'd be fun. My grandfather was born in Mexico, so it'd be great to go out there and kind of see that. And then one of the other things to think about is whether or not domestic travel opens up quicker than international travel, because if that happens, then there's a number of places within the United States that we'd love to get to. One of the ones that was high on our list that we were thinking about was Hawaii. But unfortunately, at this point, anybody who travels through Hawaii needs to spend 14 days in quarantine, and that kind of blows up any travel plans you might have to go out there. But yeah.
Yeah.
So you're gonna say.
So I'm just gonna catch up real quick in some of the chats. So, Karen, yes. Fact check me on the Namibia oysters, by the way, if you find anything when you look it up. But someone was talking to me about it really passionately before. And then Megan Morris is saying that she has been to 15 countries in Europe. That's amazing, but has yet to go to Italy. That's another great destination for food, which I feel like we didn't mention before, too.
I brought it up. I said pizza and pasta.
Oh, delicious. Sorry. I missed that. But yeah, definitely go in the fall if you can, because they're going to be really, so much of Italy is so dependent on tourism.
Yeah. They're
one of the biggest tourist destinations in the world, and nobody can go, and they haven't been able to go for weeks.
One of the highest UNESCO World Heritage Sites by population density or whatever. I would say that if you're looking at Italy, it's easy to fly into a number of different locations. Milan is pretty easy to fly into internationally. When we went there, the last time we flew into Milan via Emirates, had a flight where it was like a stopover on the way to Dubai. So we got pretty cheap tickets that way. And then there's this whole you can obviously fly into Rome or into the south, but there's a lot of different regions, and I think that what we found was that driving in Italy was pretty easy. But yeah, no, it was a good time.
So Bob and Terry are sending out some awesome recommendations, by the way. So, just wanting to elaborate, Alba is a really small town in the Piedmont region, as long as we're talking about the same Alba. And yeah, they have really good wines there, and all around Alba. So Alba's a great place to kind of be your home base when you're in Piedmont, and you can get to a lot of the small wine towns like Barolo and Barbaresco from that destination, and the Piazza Duomo. Oh my gosh, I'm so bad at speaking Italian. I don't think I can say that next word, but I'm gonna try. Ciao Tornavento. And they're saying are all really great places in Italy. Then also it's saying Hotel La Perla is Michelin star, but has like phenomenal meals. You guys, Bob and Terry, have done some really, really great traveling, and we always like to listen to their recommendations on hotels specifically. One of the hotels that we stayed at on our honeymoon when we were in Chile was from their recommendation. And then they say that until science catches up with this virus, we should expect seasonality reoccurrence. Well, I certainly can't speak to that. I'm not a scientist. I'm just hoping that there's going to become a vaccine, because I think that's going to make us all feel a little bit safer. That's really all I can make a judgment call on that. But obviously, I'm hoping and praying for everybody who's affected, and hoping that this is going to dissipate as we learn more and more about this virus. Bob and Terry are again saying best meal at Hotel La Perla. Plus, they have a 4-bedroom bed and breakfast. So you don't have to drink and drive. That's perfect, yes. So you'd want to stay there so that way you can have all the nummy wine. I think Derek's coming back from getting another beer right now. Or
White Claw.
White Claw. He loves White Claw. And then Megan's asking our favorite country or city in Europe. So,
London.
yeah. Which I understand is not the biggest cultural difference, but when it comes to London, I've always felt a very special connection to it. I really love British culture generally, and always have. And I think of any city in Europe, I would totally live in London in a heartbeat. It just speaks to me. I love Paris too, though. I mean, it's growing on me too. I just don't.
You've been to Paris a lot, actually.
I've been to Paris actually more than London recently. But I've connected with a lot of people based in the London area through Instagram too, and there's a lot of British people that watch this channel, I believe, too. So I think I feel very, very passionate about wanting to live in London if I could choose that. I also love Scotland, and I love we're just big nature lovers generally. Like, we like city vacations, but we also like getting out into the countryside and the rural areas and exploring that type of life in different countries all over the world. But Scotland is also really impactful for me.
Yeah, like two summers ago, we did a road trip through Scotland that was a lot of fun, where we flew into Glasgow, rented a car, and then drove up along the coast and did a number of the Highlands. Went to Isle of Skye, up to Inverness, down to Edinburgh, did Edinburgh for a little bit, and then back across to Glasgow to finish out the trip. See Glasgow a little bit, which is a pretty cool town, actually, and had a lot to offer. Highly recommend Glasgow. Everybody thinks of Edinburgh, but Glasgow's really, really cool.
Glasgow is a really cool counterbalance to Edinburgh.
It's more like young and industrial. And
I think I actually mentioned that on the Walter's World Live chat last night to somebody who was talking about which city is better in Scotland. So Edinburgh my personal opinion. So Edinburgh is very historic, and it's wonderful if you are going to Scotland and love learning about the history of Scotland. Glasgow is kind of like the modern party, like more party city.
The Glaswegians know how to party.
Yes. I think the way that I've heard it described is you'll have more fun at a funeral in Glasgow than a wedding in Edinburgh. Which, that's just a saying.
Those are fighting words.
They are fighting words, for sure. But I could kind of see that after our time in Glasgow because, I mean, people were just having such a good time there.
There's a vibrancy of life there. It's really cool.
And they have great street art, just cool bars, fun people. So, Derek, you need to answer, though, probably still. What is your favorite country or city in Europe?
I don't know. They're all great in different ways. So I studied abroad in Spain. I find Spain to be awesome and an amazing time. I think that the culture there is such a melting pot that it offers a lot of different unique angles. And if you look at, the different regions within Catalonia or Madrid or the Basque Esqueti region up in the north, which is a vibrant food scene. That would, I've never been to the Basque Country, but I'm sure if I had been, that would probably be my favorite food region and city to go to. And then down in the south where I studied abroad in Sevilla, is very heavily influenced by Moorish culture and whatnot. So you have a lot of different regions, kind of like the UK actually, where you have like the British piece of England, and then you have more of the Celtic Wales and Scotland and Northern Ireland, Cornwall, all these different regions that have a real identity to them, and the same
strong history,
identity, language, different languages, both in the UK and in Spain, where Catalonia is very different than Spanish, which is very different than Euskadi, which is a totally different language, not even almost related to Spanish at all. And there's a lot of that, which is really, really cool. I like the tapas scene. I think that's really special. The wine is very good and cheap. There's actually a really fun drink that I drank while I was over there, which was the Tinto de Verano, which is Fanta and red wine mixed together with ice, which is delicious and very refreshing. And I was in Madrid on business over the summer, and we did Tinto de Verano, which was delicious and awesome. So very cool. Love Spain. Would recommend it in a heartbeat. But like favorite city, like I don't know if it's my favorite city. Paris might be my favorite city. The way I've always heard it explained is you fall in love with Paris on your second trip, basically.
That's true. We did that recently.
We were there for a weekend, did the touristy sites, and then we went to the Loire Valley, and then we came back and we just kind of hung out in Paris, and that was when we were like, oh, I see why people love Paris. And it's the people watching, it's the cafe culture, it's the food, it's the ambiance, it's all of that.
The fashion. I bought this shirt in Paris actually last fall.
She wants to go back every year just for the sales. She's like, I want to move. Okay, can we just go back?
I love shopping in Paris because I'm petite.
That is the most bougie thing you've ever said.
I know, but they cut their sleeve lengths about an inch shorter in Paris. I've noticed a lot of the shops. So for me, that works out from a fit standpoint a little bit better than a lot of the shops in America. And
again, she can get to Paris very cheaply, so let's all remember that.
Yeah.
She flies non-rev to Paris, and so she pays like $50. So she's allowed to go there, I guess.
I pay more than that, but yes.
Whatever.
Anyway.
Okay, Bob and Terry, the Alhambra is incredible. I would highly recommend. Like,
I
If there's
didn't
like
go when I visited Derek when he was studying abroad.
You just
I
did.
did not go, and
You had a
I
weekend.
have to go back. I know. I only
Yeah.
had a weekend to explore all of southern Spain.
So Granada in the south, it was the last Moorish stronghold in Spain. It was conquered in 1492, the same year Columbus sailed the ocean blue, and that's when they kicked out the caliphate. And it is a remarkable building, a phenomenal. Like the garden, the Generalife inside of it is stunning. That was probably the first time I ever went to one of these like grand gardens and came back from it saying like, oh my god, I wish I had more time there. That was a very cool experience, and that was also where I learned that I love doner kebab. So doner kebab, delicious in Granada.
I've never heard anybody speak any ill words about the Alhambra. Literally,
except for that it gets crowded, highly crowded with tourists,
sure.
but it's
anywhere
phenomenal.
That people rave about, I'm sure.
Phenomenal. There's a reason why so many tourists go there. It's really nice.
So Megan was saying she's never actually been to the UK, which is crazy only to someone like me who's such an Anglophile. But it's totally normal for everyone else.
Yeah.
But your husband went before. Before you met him. And he is down to go whenever, but we always end up choosing
different destinations. So I will say that, I feel that, right? Because we have only ever done Spain
and
in
it
college.
Sounds like, Megan, you guys really like adventure. And I'm not going to sugarcoat the fact that, like, UK is probably the most similar place to the US, other than Canada, maybe.
Definitely.
You speak a common language. There's just a lot of crossover between our media outlets. So we see a lot of their shows, they see a lot of our shows. So we just have a lot of shared experiences that perhaps we might have a lot more learning opportunities in other places.
That said, I think that if you get outside of London and you go to Scotland, Wales, Ireland, something like that, you might have, because, you go into Wales, for instance, and suddenly Gaelic, Celtic, the language, Welsh, there's like two different languages on the signs, and it's Welsh first and then English.
Yeah. Gaelic is like the Scottish language.
They're all Celtic languages, but yes. So that's kind of cool because it definitely makes you feel like, oh, I'm in a different country now. This is not England, and it's beautiful, lush, green, wild country. It's really cool. Great castles if you like castles.
Oh yeah, and Wales has the most phenomenal castles.
They're English castles. They're not Welsh castles. They were built by the English to keep the Welsh down.
They were built by specifically Edward the First. If I can nerd out there, because
Edward Longshanks.
He really wanted to conquer Wales, and he had a superior navy, and so they would come in by boat along the coastline and build these massive military.
They called it like the Iron Curtain or something like that, of like the castles that could then like control like a specific like amount of
and so
territory, and they always had a water exit so that even if they were besieged by the Welsh, they could always exit via the waterway, escape, and come back later.
So what I super enjoyed was learning about the obviously there was a lot of tension around that time frame, but I really enjoyed taking the tour by a Welshman who had kind of devoted his studies to learning about these castles, and he was explaining to us all of the military like strategy behind the way that the architecture was actually built. And that's not something that I would have ever like noticed on my own, like the fact that the windows looked like this because that way the bow and arrows had a lot more range or something like that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And now, and you go to like Carnarvon in Wales, in northern Wales, and that's a castle that, as you get away from it, we went out on a boat so you could see it from a distance, but it's banded in like kind of different colors. And the rationale behind that was because when that was built, the gold standard, the thing that Edward Longshanks or whatever was thinking about, was he was inspired by Constantinople, modern day Istanbul, and its walls, and so I guess he used that as an influence for kind of how that was designed and whatnot, which is pretty cool. Most overrated city or country in Europe, in your opinion? That's dangerous.
I mean, I can tell you right now, the most overrated one in the U.S., in my opinion, is Vegas. But
okay.
Sorry for hating on Vegas a little bit today, but go to Canyon Ranch. It's great.
In Europe, though, overrated city. I don't know. I've enjoyed.
Walter's always says Brussels. I guess we've been to Brussels and
never really been to Brussels though.
I mean, we've been, but there's
Brussels.
not a lot of like stuff there.
But we also didn't give it a chance, so I can't really say one or another.
We just listened to them too much.
Within Europe, I'm gonna think about that, and we'll come back to that. Because what I'll say is that maybe it's just we're fortunate in the place that we've chosen. I've really enjoyed all my experiences in Europe so far. Granted, that's still very limited, right? We go once a year. We see things like London and Bath, and and that's all great. I will say maybe for me, this is not a city or a country or anything like that, but the most underrated thing that I can think of is we did a bus tour through the Cotswolds while we were in England.
Oh, yeah.
And I would not recommend that. I would say if you wanted to do something like that, maybe drive yourself, so you can spend a little bit more time, get a little bit deeper into the culture, maybe explore a little bit more.
Yeah,
I'd say that was a day not well spent.
Usually we like taking tours to learn about stuff.
Yeah.
But that was too much time in a car and not enough time exploring.
So if you find yourself in England and you're in Bath, don't do like the coach tour of the Cotswolds. Maybe rent a car, go out to Castle Combe or one of the other Cotswolds villages and kind of walk around for a day and have some fun that way.
This question's really stumping me, by the way.
Yeah. That would be my most underwhelming thing that I've done in the UK.
I think the city that we've been to that we would probably, that's what I was going to say, would probably not go back to. We'd go back to the region that Turin's in.
So Turin,
the city,
Turin's the capital.
Which is in Italy.
Turin is the capital of Piedmont, which is the home of Barolo and Barbaresco and delicious wines and everything, but you don't need to go to Turin necessarily. I would highly recommend staying more in the wine country. I think that you're going to get a more rich experience. Because at the end of the day, there's not a whole lot that you get from... now, if you're from Turin, if you have family history in Turin, if there's a reason for you to go there, definitely go there. It is a powerhouse. I mean, that is where the Emanuele, whatever, the first king of the unified Italy, he came from Turin. That was his home, right? He was the king of that area. But other than that, I mean, we went to the castle. We saw this. I mean, I like looking at swords, which was kind of cool. She's not as into it.
He's super into like weaponry,
like old muskets and stuff. I thought was pretty cool, but she was not.
Such a dude.
I'm a dude. She wasn't having it. But it
Megan's
was
saying that the CERN in Switzerland is overrated, which I could kind of see that. Probably if you're a scientist, you'd be really into that. But
maybe
that's actually not even somewhere that I would probably have chosen to tour, just because I would rather.
Yeah, it'd be like going to the Hoover Dam. Who would do that?
Oh, I know. Well, when you're in Vegas, you got to find some things to do.
I'm kidding. The Hoover Dam is actually pretty cool.
Yeah. So sidebar about my trip to the Hoover Dam. So this was in January, and I went to go buy tickets, and Derek had meetings again that day, so I went by myself. And the people at the ticket place were like, "You're here by yourself?" apparently nobody goes to the Hoover Dam by themselves.
I mean, sadly, they were probably concerned that if you're there by yourself, you might be trying to.
I think they were just like, you drove for 45 minutes, like, to go learn about a dam, like.
Yeah.
They were just so confused.
Yeah. So, CERN in Switzerland. Yeah. So I probably wouldn't have booked that. So Karen is saying that she thought Geneva was overrated, but the rest of Switzerland is pretty great. Geneva, so I've flown in and out of Geneva. I have never actually experienced Geneva, so I can't really speak to that.
But Lucerne is really close by, I believe, and you had said that you went. So let us know how you felt about that, because I heard that has some really cool cultural experiences there.
Yeah. I will say that on the other side in Zurich, there's a lot of cool things over there, and then there's the big Lake Constance, which is really nice, and you can just drive around it or take a ferry over to Germany from over there. And there's a Zeppelin museum, which is kind of cool. There's a lot of stuff. So Switzerland is one of those places that I've been to. I've never really experienced it. I've eaten raclette in like the airport and bought some of their chocolates, but it's a place that I don't personally count as having really been to, because I haven't really been able to experience the culture with my wife here. So we got to get over there.
We want to go to like
Everywhere?
Wall.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought you were just going to say we want to go everywhere. So.
Well, that too.
Haven't been there yet, but it's on my list. So Al was asking, what about music? Do you guys have any favorite region for music outside of the U.S.? So I will say the most memorable music experience that I've had outside of the U.S. was Scotland.
Yeah. Oh gosh, this is so funny.
Specifically, the night before. So if anybody here is a Harry Potter fan, you know that there's a bridge that's like awesome. And it's in the movies, and the train goes over it, and it's a viaduct. It's called
and the Dementors come in.
The Dementors and all that stuff. So it's like the famous Harry Potter train bridge, basically, and it's in Scotland. And so we're like, okay, we're gonna, when we're on this Highland tour, we're gonna drive right by it, so we might as well stay the night over there, wake up early in the morning, and go photograph it. And so we get there, we check into this hotel, this old hotel, kind of historic building, an old mansion, and we go down to the bar because we're like, let's have a drink, a nightcap or whatever. Grab dinner. We like
meeting fellow travelers.
We like meeting other travelers,
yeah. Too.
So we found like an American couple that we were like kind of chatting it up with, and they were there for dinner as well. And this local guy comes in, who's
literally
just
the hotel's next door neighbor,
hamming it up, and we find out that he's like the next door neighbor. He's a pensioner who lives next door to the hotel, and he comes in every night and hangs out with the tourists and regales them with stories that we bought him drinks.
Yeah, basically it's like you buy this guy drinks.
And he'll sing to you. And it was great because
all the Scottish folk songs.
He sang very lovely, lovely Scottish folk songs to us, which was really cool. And it was like telling tales of, and so this area within Scotland is where Bonnie Prince Charlie and all of that took place, where they like rallied the Scottish Highland troops and went to go fight the British and everything. So he was like singing these like dirges of like that time that were telling that tale within like in Gaelic, so I didn't understand anything, but it was beautiful and haunting.
Some of it was in English
and great.
But yeah, anywhere where you can listen to local folk songs can be just a really cool experience. I know that you had a flamenco experience, I believe, in Spain. That you enjoyed. I went to Ireland with my best friend, and a lot of the pubs in Ireland have really good music, especially on like Fridays and Saturday nights. So that's a great, like, if you're only going to be in Ireland for a couple days, I would definitely go on a weekend unless you don't drink. So that way you can end your nights with some really great music and pub activity.
The Intercontinental in Hong Kong has a jazz bar area, which is pretty cool, and they had like a jazz band playing, which I always find that I enjoy jazz and like listening to it, but I don't ever seek it out. It's one of those things that if it happens around me, I'm always very happy, and I need to fix that. We need to do more jazz, I think.
There's supposed to be a really good jazz bar here in Chicago, up in Andersonville, which is a neighborhood kind of north of the city. And we've had a lot of people recommend it to us, and we still haven't made it up there. So when bars open again, someday, we gotta go.
Yeah, I mean, we walked around a little bit yesterday because it was so nice out, and we passed like so many of these like closed off like areas for like outdoor al fresco dining, and I just kept being like, wouldn't it be great to eat a meal there? Like, wouldn't it like? I'm just so locked up right now. I just want to like go see other people, and it's really sad.
Yeah.
But that's why we're doing this, right? You know, is to connect with everybody out there and, you know, talk to people here. Awesome questions, by the way, guys. You know, we really appreciate this. It's it's better when we don't talk to ourselves only. So it's
and we've just been dying to talk about travel. So many people aren't traveling right now and aren't planning their trips, and rightfully so. Definitely just don't travel right now. Stay home. Don't even leave your house. But
unless you can socially distance outside your home in a in an appropriate manner.
Yeah, I mean, but just connecting with other folks that are just really interested in travel as much as we are is incredibly. I mean, it's a blessing. It truly is, and we are so lucky to live in a time where we can have this type of technology work for us and not feel isolated. It's really great to focus on that positive.
I will say, getting back to real quick this whole like series that we're looking at trying to do on videos for experiencing and traveling to another culture, from home and how to do it. We bought a bunch of potatoes so we can try to make our own Belgian frites. I think we're gonna watch In Bruges, maybe.
That would definitely be the movie to watch.
That would be I don't know any other Brussels
But
movies.
you're giving away all the
I'm just trying to give out some ideas and like tease some of the content that might be coming.
Let us know if there's any countries in particular that
in the UK, I think tea time. I think high tea would be a fun thing to try to do. We need to buy cucumbers and little breads.
Oh, cucumber sandwiches.
And try to bake our own scones.
My goodness.
That'll be quite the experience. But yeah, if you guys have other ideas, please shoot them to us because we're looking.
Yeah. So I think we can definitely do like Mexico, France.
Mexico's easy. France.
The UK, or I guess we could do England as a separate thing from like Scotland and everything.
I mean, Scotland, I'm not making haggis.
True. There's so many good movies.
Deep fried Mars bar, though. Do that.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe we don't want any Scottish food. Overrated food. That'd be an interesting question to ask. I don't know.
A tortilla de español, yes. Spanish omelet with potatoes, very good.
Yeah.
Tortilla espinaca was always my favorite. Un bocadillo de tortilla espinaca. So that's the sandwich, which is like a loaf of bread, basically. It's like a French baguette cut in half. You throw on the tortilla, which is the Spanish omelet with potatoes, but they make it with spinach, and it's very, very tasty. Highly recommend that, actually, if you find yourself in Spain.
Yeah. We gotta figure out what other cultures to do. I think Italy could be one.
Italy, Spain. You said you're making pasta, so.
Pasta.
We bought a giant thing of flour.
Greek spanakopita.
Greek.
I don't know what that is, but we gotta get a recipe going, and then we can. There's so many great movies set in Greece too that we can.
Mamma Mia.
Here I go again.
Yeah. Gotta love ABBA. ABBA? Uba?
Uba, that's it.
Uba.
You heard it here.
Uba. But no, Mamma Mia's fun. My Big Fat Greek Wedding. I know that's America, but like, come on, that's fun. Windex fixes everything.
Yeah.
If we could figure out a way to make homemade baklava, that'd be killer. But I don't think we're gonna figure that one out.
Yeah.
Phyllo dough. That'd be harder.
All right, so you guys are just basically listening to a brainstorm session right now, and I apologize, but we are excited about this idea. Just bringing new cultures to our house.
I think figuring out a way to make Ethiopian food would be really cool.
Yeah.
I know they do like the bread like thing, and you eat bread and this stuff. Sounds so good.
Yeah. Well, let us know if you guys have any other questions, or if you guys.
Otherwise, it is getting kind of late.
Yeah.
We'll probably need to call it quits here soon.
We are doing these twice a week now at this time. We have locked in times now as we're all in quarantine for these live streams, just to be able to stay connected. I know that we're all we're gonna have cabin fever, and I think being able to just talk to fellow travelers and people who are just passionate about learning about other cultures and other people is going to be what bonds us together as humans during this whole crazy experience.
Yeah, and as we start creating our content around this stuff, this will be also kind of our way to give some behind the scenes insights into maybe some fiascos that we have if we burn down our kitchen trying to fry up potatoes
Derek
or
wanted
something.
to buy an air fryer today,
which would have been so much safer. Instead, we're gonna use oil in a pot, and we'll see how that goes. But
wish us luck. Derek's the chef in this house, by the way, so he's gonna be the one spearheading the food portion of the events. But anyway, so this was super fun. We really were pleased to have all of you guys join and active in the live chat too, which made it really good to spark conversations. Again, because I didn't finish, we're having it these live streams Thursdays at 7 p.m. Central Time and Sundays at 11 a.m. Central Time. So hopefully you guys can start your Sundays with us too. We'll probably have coffee with our Sunday live streams.
But we do have Baileys.
Sure.
Which is my go-to in-flight beverage as well.
Derek's going to end up drinking during all of these. I don't know. On that note, it's been great talking to you guys. And definitely feel free to subscribe to this channel if you want to see all of my other videos beyond these live streams. And
hit the notification button.
Yeah, and like this video if you liked it.
Somewhere, I don't know.
If you liked hanging out. And we'll talk to you guys all soon. Cheers. Bye.